today I went and visited my friend Kyle May, who is a drummer and built a home studio just like me. Kyle, I met through my friend Webster. If you guys saw the Access Audio Dolby Atmos home studio tour, Webster introduced us. Kyle's super cool dude, drummer, photographer, super interested in all basically the exact same thing as me and maybe even you. If that's the case, you should go follow him. He just started a YouTube channel, linked in the description. Subscribe to his channel. Super nice guy. Kyle, thank you for having me. These videos get recommended because you guys always smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, because that really does help recommend it to a new audience. But I noticed so many of the new recommendations who are watching this are not subscribed. So if you aren't, just go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and you get to see all of the new videos, like these vlogs that I do later in the week about how I'm learning music theory and sort of taking you on that journey with me. If watching videos just simply isn't enough for you, you can actually, I did this just for you. You can go to ANDREWMASTERSmusic.com and actually book a consultation, a Zoom call, and we'll just hang out. Talk about mixing, remote drums, whatever floats your boat, ANDREWMASTERSmusic.com supports the channel, subscribing to the channel, watching the videos, hitting the like button, all that stuff. That's my child, I love him. On the weekly vlog videos, at the end, I like to throw in a Q&A maybe every other video. So drop some questions down below if you guys have any questions. Follow me on Instagram. I'll post there to ask the questions. Let's go check out Kyle's studio.
Get on in here. Welcome.
What's up, dude?
Come on in. These are not mine. I can't play them. These are the wife's. Yeah, they're so beautiful. I had to put them on display. And then this is the rest of the spot. So we got a little drum half over here, and then just kind of like all extra drums and percussion. Flip to this side, and this is kind of the control room area.
Very clean aesthetic.
Dude, that's the thing we were focused on, and by we, I mean I and also my wife. But yeah, we wanted something that was just like timeless. You're gonna get, I can't afford to like paint and redo the panels every year to go with the trends. So, sometimes it could feel stale in like a white room, but I felt like this made the most sense for this room, and it makes it feel a little bit bigger. On your last or one of your latest videos, you talked with Webb. Yep. Webster and our friend Chris Clark, actually made these panels. I mean, they did phenomenal. So if you're building the studio, I highly recommend reaching out to them.
When did you put this room together?
So actually, we just moved here at the end of January to this spot. Before that, I was renting a room at Diamond Sound, which is a rehearsal space. Yeah. And then before that, I was sharing a house, actually with Webster and Mike, where we all shared the same space. So that's our connection. I've been loving the sounds thus far. And so the most important thing to me when moving in was getting the treatment up, because if you can't tell, it's all concrete floors and then just drywall. So it was gonna be super reverby, echoey. So it was important to make sure that it was gonna get treated, make sure the drums sound good, and then actually make sure that like the monitoring space was going to make sense.
What are these speakers again? So these are the Neumann, which model are they?
They're the KH, the 310s. So it's a three-way, and I mean, they're incredible. Their low reach is awesome, and then the highs are just like buttery smooth. So some speakers that can have this range, they'll get kind of brittle up top, but these are just super smooth. And I don't even actually have an EQ on them yet. Like they're just here in the room, and I love the way that they sound. I think the way that the Neumanns are actually supposed to be set up is vice versa. So this is actually the left side speaker, and you see a lot of them closer together to create that triangle. But Webb suggested, he was like, dude, flip them on the other side and you might get like a wider, left to right scope.
And then what computer is this?
So it is the new MacBook Air. I did order it with the 16 gig upgrade. It's great, it's sharp, it's fast. One thing I will advise, make sure all of your gear is gonna work with it before you get it.
Of course.
Because I bought it and my interface, my links, wasn't compatible with it yet. So I was literally sitting on a brand new computer for a month and I was hating myself for not being able to use it. Eventually I'm gonna have, just like one plug where I can You know, have all the hard drives in one space, but it's literally just sitting on the floor over there.
So let's start interface. It's the Lynx Aurora.
It's the Lynx Aurora 16. So this is older, but this came highly recommended because it's just crystal clear, no frills, no nothing. It still goes up to 192 and it sounds phenomenal. I've got no complaints with it. So that's the converter right here. And then for monitoring, I'm going to the Dangerous Source. And Dangerous, just another company that you can't beat. It's just super clean, phenomenal stuff. So then out of this, going to the speakers. Separate outputs are going to the B rig, to that headphone amp for when I'm tracking drums.
Oh, cool.
And then another set of outputs are going to my VU meters. Just because when you're referencing stuff, you don't always have like a plug available, like on your Pro Tools or Logic, you don't always have the plugin available to compare.
Sure.
So I like to see what the iTunes output is, maybe a file from QuickTime to know what that is, and then compare it to, you know, whatever I'm referencing, like inside of my session or something. So I think I have these calibrated. I can't remember what I did it to. I think I have them at like neg 8.
So you're mostly tracking drums in here, right?
Mostly, yeah. You know, we'll do like writing sessions and stuff, but mainly right now it's just drums, because I haven't necessarily like opened this up to other people to be like, hey, I've got a studio for rent. Eventually, I'm open to it.
Walk me through how you have the drums, what the drums are going to, and how you're using it.
Yeah, okay.
Let's look at it from that lens.
So this BAE stuff is some of my favorite, like kind of Neve 1073, like emulations or clones or whatever you want to call it. A condenser on the snare, and that's going through this kind of 1073 type pre with the EQ, and then a dynamic on the snare top. So these are both the snare tops. Condenser is going through this DBX 560. So that's that chain. This V7 is going straight into the Lynx. And then we've got the snare bottom preamp, which is another 1073. And then that's going through this IGS 500 EQ, which is super sharp. All of these EQs, they kind of complement each other. So for the tops, I'm really just taking out, you know, some of the mid-range that I don't like. And then on the bottom, I'm pushing a lot of that back in. So they kind of complement each other that way. And then I have like a little trick mic or crotch mic or however you want to call it that is going through another 1073, and then it's being squashed by this Tonelux TX5C. And then the next thing is the hat, but it's going through this Focusrite ISA. And then that is going through this Midas EQ up here. Yeah, and the thing about the Midas stuff, which is really cool, is they are ultra cheap, but super transparent. I love them. I've got 2 more of them on the kick in and the kick out.
What is that box?
Which box?
Heritage Audio.
Yeah, the Heritage Audio. It's just a little 4-space thing. It's different than like these API lunch boxes, because these have the power supply like right in here.
Right.
That looks different because that power supply is on, you know, the little IEC cable at the end of it. More kick in, kick out stuff through the 3124.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you just can't beat the API sound. I love it. And so since I don't want to color that anymore, I throw them through these Midas 512s as well. The toms are going through the API as well, and then they're going through these API 560s. And then finally, so I've got 2 sets of overheads over there. I've got the CV4s, which are in like an ORTF position, and if you don't know what that is, it's almost like a reverse XY. They're at like a 90-degree angle, and then those are going through the 1073, and then they're also going through this Tonelux EQ. And then one of my favorite beasts is this Portico 5043 bus compressor. And so I'm squashing those overheads a little bit. And then I've got a spaced pair of the Coles ribbon mics that are going through these BAE 1073s. A lot of people are surprised by the ribbon mics. They're surprised about how dark they sound. And the whole reason I have like 2 sets of overheads is because I don't want to be changing up my miking every time I go to track something. So I want to be able to give the client as many options as possible. The final mic in this setup is the AEA R84, and it's kind of this pill mic. If you've ever seen any of like Aaron Sterling videos, he's always using this as a percussion mic, and you see this in every studio. But this is just an awesome mono room mic that I also have going through the Focusrite ISA, and then I'm squashing it with another 560.
So real quick though, this
Yes.
what's this panel at the bottom? Is this going to the back of the links, and that's the snake?
So this is kind of like my, I guess like my poor man's patch bay.
Okay.
Because I don't actually have a real patch bay. So everything is just kind of daisy chained together before all of the outputs are going into the links. So this is actually coming from all of the mics over at the drum kit. So this just connects the snake from the drum kit, and then on the back side of the panel are all of the loose XLRs that are going to their respective preamps. And then after that, each preamp will chain into their respective EQ or compressor, and then all of those outputs will go into a panel that then goes into the links.
What is this mic over here?
I call it my flex mic.
Okay.
So this is going through the Portico 5015, which I think is probably one of the best vocal preamps that they've made. And it's got a compressor on the other side. But I have the MicTech C7E plugged into that. That's like the best sounding like Neumann 87 clone. So I think it's great on vocals. It's kind of like a secret weapon. I can't get enough of it. So I'll use that if I'm cutting a vocal in here, or if I'm cutting BGVs, or if I need percussion tracks. I'll literally just sit at the desk and pull it over.
And real quick before we leave this set, you got the complete
Yeah, oh yeah, of
control.
course. So the complete control, it was just great when I first bought the Native Instruments, their whole bundle. The best part to this was using it to like browse, you know, it's got a plugin built in where you could just browse all of the samples that you have and use all of the encoders. And then on top of that, the lights just look cool. I think this is their first version of it because I bought it, I think, when it came out. I love the 61 key. It fits nice and clean on the desk.
Hold on, one more thing over there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm skipping over
Kensington
a bunch of stuff.
Trackball on the right.
Yeah.
Trackpad on the left. Explain yourself.
I like to use this for the most part. If I'm going really fast on a session, I'll plug this in, or I'll turn this on, and I'll use this to like scroll left or right, up and down, instead of using this guy and then holding shift. So I'll just kind of fumble over here and go up and down with it, but that's literally all I use it for. And then it's also just there if somebody else is here to engineer or work on something. Not everybody loves the trackball.
Hold on, where'd you get this this plant over here?
I think I got that at TJ Maxx.
That is
probably about 8 years ago.
Oh wait, these speaker stands.
Another custom build by the brilliant Webster Tileston.
All right, let's check out the drums and the mics.
Okay, yes.
How long have you been drumming?
I've been drumming since third grade-ish, maybe, before that. So, wow, almost 20 years. I guess 20 years now.
Wow.
That's cool. You know, I came to school here about 10 years ago and studied drums, and then I've literally just been touring and recording ever since. So this is just all just a culmination of the collection of stuff I've gathered over the years. Oh, I gotta shout out to the Meinl Cymbals, because they're the best cymbal company out there, and they show me lots of love and support. I'm not endorsed by Gretch, but I will endorse Gretch because I love them so much.
Yeah, man.
This is a Gretch Broadcaster. It's a 24x16 kick, 13x9, 16x16, and this is all, you know, a play off of the original Broadcaster. So they're really thin shells. I think they're just 3-ply of maple, poplar maple. But what it does is it gives it the super tubby retro sound. And so I complement that with coated Emperors. And I just love what it does. And then I've got the assortment of snares. I've got my go-to favorite, which is a 14x7 Craviato Ash. The assortment is just another collection. Like if you're a drummer and you don't have a million snares, it's totally okay, because I have had to collect these over the past 20 years that I've been drumming, and I've bought and sold stuff, but I always feel for the dudes, because I was just like this when, like, you know, you're seeing in the studio sessions, like all these guys that are rolling in with cartage with hundreds of snares. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be a real drummer until I have that. And that's just not true, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So this is just my small collection with like a Ludwig Acrolite that just gives you that perfect dry buzz. This is the one that I like to play really quietly and then crank the preamp to do like the distorted thing. Gretch wood hooped snare drum. awesome clack. This is a Ludwig Black Beauty. Probably one of my favorite snares for that. You know, the big fat snare, like low, gush. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds so good. A Maple Masters. This is some random vintage drum. I think it sounds good. I have no idea what it is. And then this kind of secret weapon is a Greg Schulman 12-inch snare drum, and it honestly sounds, I mean, as good as like this wood hooped snare. It's just got so much body to it. And then the other kit that I have on here is a Gretch USA Custom that I really like, all maple. This is the Broadcaster, is just the one that I've been using a lot now. And then all of the box of goodies like toys, cowbells, tambos. You never know what your triangle. You never know what you're gonna get requested for, you know, on a session. All of these cymbals, they just sound so great in their own right. Like, I think that like, oh, I found the next perfect set, and then I hear something else and I'm like, oh my God, these sound great too. And like, that's just been the whole game with Meinl right now. So yeah. I've got everything from the dark to the sands to all of their Byzance stuff, and like this freaking beauty, this 24-inch medium ride back here. I mean, that's like a perfect kind of ping ride that also washes really well. And then my favorite cymbals that I've got up right now is actually the 22-inch Byzance Foundry ride, Foundry Reserve. Their 20-inch light ride here, which I use as a crash. Their 20-inch Jazz medium thin crash. And then their medium dry dark thin hats. The thing that drew me to Meinl the first time I heard them was Benny Greb talking about Meinl, saying like when he's playing on a record, the cymbals sound so good because they're not so washy and high pitched that they stay out of the way of the vocal. Like they've got their own little bandwidth that they work inside of. And I thought that was so important to me because it was a reminder that as a drummer, you're supporting the artist, you're supporting the music that you're playing. It's not your show. So that's kind of how I treat the drum kit. That's the kit over here. And then I drive from, you know, I'll just engineer all my stuff myself. So I drive from this side. So this monitor and mouse and trackball thing is all linked up over there. So that way I can control Pro Tools. Then a headphone amp, like I said earlier, coming out of the links. This is a little Grace Designs headphone amp. And so you can just plug in your in-ears or headphones or whatever and track from here.
So let me ask, this is a funny question. You have XLRs going into the back of that amp?
Yes.
Okay.
So inside of like the Lynx mixer, like the software, so what I've done is I will set up like my own little drum mix of the like individual inputs, and then I will mirror the 1 and 2 outputs to go to the 3 and 4 outputs, which are going to this. And then that way inside of Pro Tools, I can be like, hey, I need to hear more of this, and I'll know to send it to the 3 and 4 outputs, which I also have labeled as the drum headphones. Like I said, I have all of the inputs mixed, and then I have them sent here, and then whatever I'm tracking to in Pro Tools, I'll have sent to the 2 mix, the 1 and 2 out, which are the monitors, and then to the 3 and 4 mix, which is here. And then all of that is also duplicated to the 5 and 6 mix, which are the VU meters.
All right, microphones.
Microphones.
This is the real fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw you in the front here. We'll just kind of work our way through, like, you know, top down, starting with the down, which is the kick. The kick in right now, I normally have a 52 on it, but I've been trying this Mic Tech PM11, and it sounds pretty freaking phenomenal. So it's like a dynamic mic. The cool thing about it is the kind of built-in EQ curve where it's got some of the mids cut out, and then it's got a little boost in the high end for some click and some attack.
Okay.
The kick out mic is the same as that vocal mic that I showed you, which is the C7E, and I think it does a killer job. So I'm just boosting some of the woofiness in the EQ. A lot of people will do like the 10th thing to cut out some cymbal bleed.
Yeah.
But I like the way that it sounds just right there where it kind of picks up a little bit of it. It almost acts as like
a kit.
Yeah, exactly. Which is how I view the overheads as well. You know, people will put up like pencil mics like way spaced out because they only want cymbals, and that's fine. But I just view it as more of like kit mics, overhead mics, not cymbal mics. Yeah. So on the snare tops, I've got the SE Electronics V7, that's a dynamic mic. And I showed you where it was going through on the preamp side of things. This is the Telefunken M60. It's a condenser mic, similar to like a Neumann KM84, which is why I like it. And then the same thing is on the snare bottom. And then on the side here, this little kind of crush mic thing is this 57. And it's cool because it adds a little bit of like that knock back into the snare drum, and I really like that about it. The only thing to think about is like just phasing between the kick drum and the rest of the mics, but it's not too noticeable. People always throw away the hi-hat as well, but the hi-hat is just as important as the kick and the snare. So I treat it with respect with an AKG 451. Woo. And then I actually put it through a decent preamp. I mean, I've known dudes that are like, well, it's just the hi-hat, we'll put it through the PreSonus. But I think it's so important to make sure that the hi-hat speaks and it gets its proper tone, because you're spending, how much on the hi-hats? They're the most expensive cymbal. Why not mic them up properly? On the toms, my favorite mics are the AKG 415 BULS.
414?
Yeah. They've got great rear rejection, so I really don't run into a lot of cymbal bleed, but the best thing about them is that they're condenser mics, so they're picking up the full body of the toms. And the BULS version is different from like the XS or whatever the newer versions are.
Yeah, these are classic.
Because they're just super smooth, and I love that they pick up the toms with just like a nice finesse, and they seem to be ultra transparent. So that's what I love about them.
And they're tough mics too. You can throw them on the toms.
And then, like I talked about earlier, I've got these MicTech CV4 2 mics in their ORTF position, and they're kind of coming in over the snare just to make sure that the snare is evenly in line with them, so that way not one mic is hitting one side harder than the other. It's not so much a cymbal mic as it is an overhead mic. And then again, like I said earlier, these Coles, they're really just for an option for the client. Like, I love the way that they sound. They're not right for every song that I track on. They're very specific sounding mics. I like them in this position because they're ribbon mics, they pick up on, they're kind of bi-directional. So I like them spaced out a little bit more, and they just add a darkness. So, if you're doing like the tea towel or towel trick thing on the toms, like the Coles are where it's at for that, because it really darkens up the kit. And then same with the AEA, the R84, like this is a great room mic because it's gonna cut out some of the cymbals. It's not gonna be so harsh in that cymbal range.
Yeah, smooths it out.
Yeah, but it's gonna give you that room sound and just kind of make the drums pop, and that's why I have that here. Eventually I'd like some, stereo pair of rooms, but.
So you do remote drumming?
Yeah.
And then you do some songwriting stuff?
Yes.
Where can people find you, follow you? You mentioned something about making videos.
Yeah. So I did start a channel because I get, I post a lot of Instagram videos, and so I get questions a lot about like my sound and my signal chain. So I'm starting YouTube series, not on like how to mix, but just how I mix my drums. So a lot of them are just, I'm just filming right here, and then, I'll literally walk you through my entire Pro Tools session and then how I got the sounds that I got. Alternatively, another series will be, how can you get these sounds if you don't have all of this gear? Because there's a lot of dudes that are trying to track, and again, same with the snare drum thing about having like an entire road case of snare drums. How can you level up your recording if you don't have the gear? Well, part of it is getting the gear, but also the other half is the know-how, is the knowledge, is well, if I had these really expensive mics, would I know what to do with them?
Sure.
And so I think it's important to talk about what you can do if you don't have these expensive mics. So I'm gonna be diving into that. You can find that on my YouTube, which is, cut this and then I'll tell you what my YouTube is.
Link in the description. Go follow Kyle on YouTube. What about Instagram or website or anything?
is Kyle W. May, and then my website is kylewmay.com. And then another thing that I've been really proud of what I've done here, but not just in this room, but in like all of my home studio spaces, has been creating practice tracks, like play-along tracks for drummers and instrumentalists alike. So there's packages on my website about downloading, I think I've got on there like 10 different songs, and they all come with different stems. So that way, if you're a guitarist, you can mute the guitar stem, you can play along. If you're a drummer, mute the drum stem, play along, make YouTube videos, Instagram videos, whatever.
Go to Kyle's YouTube, give him a subscribe, watch his videos, follow him on Instagram, book him through his website.
Yeah,
Bookable.
or literally just DM me, or I probably have posted my cell phone number somewhere like an idiot. You can text me.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me see all your stuff. I'd love to, before I get out of here, hear you play them drums. And,
oh yeah,
and maybe play it myself too.
You ready? You ready for this awesome audio quality through the camera?
Yeah, yeah.